I'm not a gearhead by any means, but I have a solid appreciation for pedals that look good, sound good, are durable. In a world full of complicated menus and new digital pedals, I feel like the TONEX sits right where it needs to, in a place where it's like simple but still very practical. In this video, I'll show you how I've been using the TONEX pedal, a few of the patches I've built, who I think this thing's for, and some of the things I kind of just wish it did differently. Before we get any further, my name's Greg. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you're interested in checking out the TONEX, this is the right video for you, so let's go ahead and get started. If you're not familiar with the TONEX ecosystem, it's one of the most powerful amp modeling systems out there. This is just the pedal format of the technology. If you haven't checked out the other TONEX products, you should check out their cab. They have a VST plugin you can actually use in your DAW, and they all work together seamlessly. And by the way, this is the Anniversary model of this pedal. It comes preloaded with tons of presets, and this was provided by IK Multimedia for the purpose of demoing and creating this video. So who is this pedal even for? Before I get too much deeper, I want to give a little context. I spent several years playing guitar with a mobile church, where we had about 2 hours to unload 5 box trailers, bring in a PA system, set it all up, sound check, final run through, and then the doors open for service to start. It was a fast-paced environment, and hauling around a tube amp kind of didn't make sense for me, which is why I gravitated toward the amp modeling pedals. Basically, I needed something that sounded good, didn't have a whole lot of maintenance tied to it as well, and that could be plugged in and set up and running in just a matter of minutes. For gigging guitarists, if you're serving on church worship teams, anywhere that needs a minimalist setup and needs to be set up and tuned up really quickly, I think the TONEX is a great option for you. It's a much more functional pedal than people talk about. It's an amp and cab simulator, it's an audio interface, and on the flip side, if you want a pedal that replaces your entire rig, this is not the pedal for you. This is not a Swiss Army knife, but it is a very sharp knife. I've been using this as a standalone pedal. My current pedalboard's amp simulator is the Walrus ACS1, which has a stereo in, stereo out. That is different than the TONEX because the TONEX does only have one input. And why that matters is because I could not put this at the end of my signal chain after my delays and reverbs. But like I said, for the purpose of this video, it'll be a standalone pedal on my desk. That makes it a whole lot easier to just showcase and see what the pedal can do without anything else affecting my signal chain. One of the coolest parts about TONEX that I never even thought about is actually the ToneNet. This is an online platform where people share presets and captures. It's basically a community-driven library of amps, pedals, gear, tones, search by amp type, gain level, etc. Additionally, IK Multimedia has engineers that specifically create patches based on artists you know and love, Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, and other artists that have defined genres of music. So it's a great way to explore iconic tones without actually having to rebuild everything from scratch. A lot of the genres that I play really rely on clean tone that really breaks up as you kind of dig into it, and the safe choices for me have always been Fender and Vox-based amplifiers, but I wanted to kind of just scroll through this and find something that really felt inspiring, and I found a really nice patch by Worship Tutorials based on the Samson-era Bad Cat Cub 2R. I've had this Telecaster for about 12 years now, so we have a great amount of history. Kind of my go-to guitar whenever I'm doing ambient stuff or really building a pedal board. I just know how the guitar sounds and feels, and it's just been a good all-purpose guitar for me. So I did add a few different effects into my signal chain, modulation, delay, reverb, kind of depending on the setting that I'm using it in. But without further ado, let's go ahead and check out the actual playthrough. are other great capture systems out there, I found that the TONEX does offer a much more user-friendly price point, especially if you're not trying to build an entire rig out of one pedal. I think the TONEX is a great option. I do hear a lot of people talk about the TONEX being an amp and cab simulator primarily, but no one really talks about the wet or stereo effects that are built into this with the latest firmware updates. So after getting this, I was very pleasantly surprised to find out, okay, there are multiple algorithms for delays, reverbs, modulation. The algorithms in this pedal are kind of bare bones a little bit. You're not going to get mind-blowing textures and layers from different reverbs and delays like you would with dedicated $500 pedals. My pros and cons before I wrap up the video. For an amp and cab modeling system, this sounds amazing. I will actually say this is probably my favorite amp and cab simulator. Why it's not on my pedal board, I'll talk about that here in a sec. It's very simple to use. It doesn't have a whole lot of menu diving. Basically, if you want to get to the alternate options here, you just click and hold this parameter button, and then it changes to these different settings. So for instance, I can change my threshold for my compressor, but other than that, like really, it's got a simple design. Now, if you wanted to get more and more detailed into this, you will have to go into the TONEX editor, but for really quick changes on the fly, this is absolutely user-friendly. It's very affordable compared to other units. It's compact, and it does come in the TONEX 1 format. This is a nano-sized version that actually lets you load up your same captures, which is a great option for minimalist rigs, fly pedal boards, any kind of traveling setup, or where space is extremely limited. Okay, for the cons, like I mentioned, this has a mono input, which is truthfully, that's a horrible deal breaker for me. So this is not going to end up on my pedal board. There is no real-time effects chain customization. So for example, there's no pedal stacking, no effects loop. There are limited wet and modulation effects. So like reverbs, delays, modulation, you don't get a whole lot of flexibility. There are only like a few algorithms per effect type. So reverbs in this pedal aren't really for sound design. They're more for just functionality of having reverb. And finally, it does require the editor app to like fully change and fully customize and do deep editing on your presets. So that kind of is a limitation in my mind. But I'm gonna stick by that phrase I said earlier. It's not a Swiss Army knife, but it is a very sharp knife. Even just within the electric guitar world, there's so much flexibility with creating realistic and interesting tones without diving into a whole lot of post-processing. And beyond that, I feel like there's plenty of unexplored territory. For me, the TONEX is really one of those pedals that just kind of gets out of the way. It's got a very simplistic design, so whenever I am using it in the studio, I don't have to think a whole lot about it. I'm not wasting time trying to fiddle with knobs and stuff, try to get a sound that I want. Especially with the Anniversary Edition, it just sounds really good out of the box. If you're on the edge of checking out this pedal, I hope this kind of gave you some more clarity with your decision. Is the TONEX a good buy in 2025? It's a strong yes for me. I've tried all of the amp modelers that are in a single pedal format, and I can truthfully say this is absolutely my favorite, but with the mono input, unfortunately, this is not gonna go on my pedal board. This is gonna stay as a studio piece until I have other uses for this. If this video gave you any ideas, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing if you wanna see more of my favorite tools for musicians and producers. I've got plenty more pedal board experiments, plugin demos, and ambient tools coming soon. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.